Hey, this is Steve Halleck of TikToking, and I'm here with a brand that I have never covered. This is a Hublot, but it's not just any Hublot. This is the big daddy Hublot, and let's go into the features before we get too far into it. First, I think it brings up a really interesting point on kind of branding and what it means to buy something based on the brand or not buy it based on the brand. I know a lot of people would write this watch off just because it's a Hublot, and I think that would be a mistake because it's a really cool watch. But that's more of an in-depth topic I could get into on my podcast, maybe not a video review topic. For now, let's go through this piece. So the first thing you obviously see is a tourbillon down here at 6 o'clock. And it's actually a pretty cool looking cage. It's got a sort of rhodium plated open balance wheel that looks very cool as it spins around. But it's the two hidden functions that are sort of extra neat, with the one being the mega big daddy. We'll get to that last. Next, also kind of hidden, we have a mono pusher chronograph. So no chronograph buttons, but this is actually a chronograph right in the crown. So press it to start. You've got your chronograph seconds there and your chronograph minutes right there. Stop and reset. But that's not all, because you'll see back here, whoop, you got it. This is a Cathedral Gong minute repeater. So Cathedral Gong, if you see that, that means the gongs are wrapped around the movement twice, basically. They're twice as long. It generally is supposed to give more sustain to the sound, and it usually makes a little bit of a lower pitch. You always have to say usually. Everything is kind of, minute repeaters are very variable by each example even, certainly each piece, or each model. So you have to be careful with generalizations with minute repeaters, but that is the idea with a Cathedral Gong. And this, of course, is a carbon fiber case, as you can see, which is really interesting to have a minute repeater in. One of the problems with getting volume out of a minute repeater in most watches is that they're usually made out of precious metals, which are fairly dense and keep the sound inside, don't let it get out, basically. Carbon fiber is actually a bit porous and should be a really good material for a minute repeater. I will let you hear it and then I'll give you my thoughts. But that's basically the watch. But then you might say, all right, well, if it's a minute repeater, where's the slide? And the coolest thing about this watch, I think, is that the slide is actually this piece of this lug. So it looks exactly like any other King Power Hublot. You wouldn't be able to tell anything from the outside, except for those who know, it's a minute repeater. So I think that's really cool. Let's change the time to something that chimes well. It's manual wind. It's got this really big crown. It's nice to use. And it's got 5 days of power reserve, which is great since this is probably not going to be most people's everyday watch. Although it is the watch that, this is a very Jean-Claude Biver watch. For those of you who know him, he's probably the most successful and kind of eccentric, energetic CEO that the watch industry maybe has ever had. And he loves minute repeaters. He collects Patek Philippe minute repeaters. So it's not surprising that he made one for Hublot. And this is actually the watch that he's wearing in his Talking Watches episode with Ben. If you want to check that out, it's on his wrist, but it's a very JCB watch. Let's play it. Again, this is in a big open room with kind of construction noise going outside, and just shot on my cell phone. So it's like the worst conditions for a minute repeater, and I think you're gonna be pleasantly surprised. Here we go. Wow. I have to say, this is actually one of the loudest, probably the loudest minute repeater I've ever heard, and quite nice in tone and cadence. It is a really, really well done minute repeater. So kudos to them for that. I'm gonna chime it one more time and let you see the hammers from the back, and then I'll put it on and let you see the watch on the wrist. Let's see if I can get you a view that's decent here and figure out where the slide is to activate at the same time. All right, there we go. All right, you ready? Here we go. Pretty sick. I really, really like this watch. I'm kind of falling in love with it myself. The one thing that really concerned me, it's listed at 48 millimeters, which is just massive. And I got it here and I was thinking it would just be a total monster. But it actually wears really well on the wrist. Check this out. I feel like it totally fits my wrist. I feel comfortable with it on. It's very light, as it is carbon fiber, of course. I think it helps that everything is kind of matte black. And by the way, these matte black indices and hands, they do have luminous material in them. So in the dark, they do glow. It's not crazy bright, but it does glow, which I thought was really cool. And overall, I think this is just a really cool watch to wear. I know there's a lot of Hublot haters in the world. I'm not really sure why they have such a bad rap, but man, I like this thing. I'm gonna chime it one more time. I'll let it play us out, okay? Here we go. Boom.